exists between those who are bonded really close together. Typically because spirits that you call into service in combat are the same spirit over and over and over. They're spirits you've come to know. You did not feel a connection sever at any point between you and anybody close to you. For whatever it's worth.
No, you're right. I didn't feel it. I don't know how that works if you're in the air.
Feeling the connection is everywhere. Everywhere is spirits in this world. Everything has a spirit.
I don't even know what. It's not like we can take a detour.
Sorry your home is gone. I'm going to try awkwardly to give you a hug. But I'm glad your kin are probably still with us on this plane. We have to take solace in that.
Yeah. I'm sure that Mylar will let us know if they hear anything.
Sure he will. Mylar's a good person, I think.
I think I'm gonna stay here, if that's okay.
I need to sleep. Maybe I will sleep here.
Just kind of like sadly nod at you, almost like a child at this point. Like she just doesn't know how to be at the moment.
I'll give you another hug before I kind of lay down and try to catch some shit.
She'll awkwardly return that hug. Because we don't know how to do things normally.
You know, no.
Charisma dump stat in the house.
Both of us.
Except for fucking Cutie over here, Ulrich. He's like, it's just a jawline. I swear, I'm actually an ugly soul, but... Oh, shit. Okay, so... So when nothing else changes, there's no other messages that you receive up until this point, or after this point until further notice. But you guys do continue the remainder of your trip. Again, it did take 2 days, so I need 1 more day's worth of rations to be removed, please.
And just for the record, Winnie will definitely like keep to herself for the rest of the trip. She's kind of off in a corner trying to play it off as being tired, but or being scared, I should say. But she's just, she's not talking to anybody.
Okay, give me 1 sec.
Am I taking out 4 or 5 rations? 4 or 3? How many am I taking out this time? I don't know how many scorpion tail rations you had.
Who's that question for, Candace?
Whoever had the scorpion rations before. Did you still have any left after that, or do I need to take out 5 rations?
No, I only have like 4.
Okay.
Sorry, were we successfully able to get a long rest in there somewhere, so our exhaustion's gone?
You guys had 2 long rests. It took you 2 days. Yep.
Yep, perfect, okay.
So anybody who had those levels, they're gone.
Would I have had any problems at night?
Nope.
Weird, I don't like it.
Yep.
Okay. Just, she is gonna do her normal, now becoming a normal prayer routine, throughout the flight, but that's all she's really doing, besides trying to be very helpful.
Bartok is running around the ship, like each corner of the ship, like a madman, just looking at everything. Probably accidentally almost trips at Winnie once, just because he's not looking on the ship.
Yeah, if you trip over Winnie, she'll just sorry, and then try to like make herself smaller, but fail terribly.
Because she's fucking huge.
Gigantic.
She's a monster. She's the goddamn Sam Squanch.
Sasquatch in the air.
Okay, so the last of the tail end of your journey comes to a close, and Grim brings you back to the place where, ironically enough, before this whole go to Kiru and get the hag's adventure started, you guys took off from here. Well, technically, I believe. Well, yeah, no, you did. You started here, stopped in the Grove, and then moved back north. So, anyways, you land in Zlagmotionbeak. And in the same little field just to the north of town, kind of like where the rice paddies are situated, and you guys disembark. Grim kind of starts to go through the landing portion where he ties it down, stakes everything down, and then he just starts going about his business. And he just says to you, "All right, well, let me know if you are in need to go somewhere else, and if not, that's fine. I think I'll maybe take this for a little ride myself, and, you know, I'm supposed to go back to Ironhoof, but I don't know if I'm going to do it."
Give him the arm clasp and just address him in Dwarvish and thank him for flying us yet again.
He says, "Oh, absolutely. Now, go bag yourselves a fucking hag. Or a crone. You said she was a crone, right?"
We did, yes.
Excellent. Cut her fucking head off.
I'll see what I can do. The hammer's not as good at cutting as it might be.
That's fair. Bludgeon her head off.
I can do that.
Gartuk's gonna look at him and be like,
Want that to bring head?
Oh no, don't bring me the head. I don't want any of that business here. Or they give me that evil stink eye, it'll put a little juju on the ship. No.
Okay.
You can keep the head. That's alright, though. Alright.
after hearing that, he'll kind of think about it.
Hag bone arrows.
I'm gonna have an aside with Gartok real quick and just say, crone, hag, not tasty.
Okay.
It's as easy as that fucking gets. No eat. Done.
Why would you lie to that? Lying's not a thing. I don't believe it. So
Yeah, right, yeah.
you say it's got to be a good reason.
And I feel like most lizard folk would be like they say the absolute truth, like what they know to be the absolute truth. Everything is spoken very plainly. It's not, there is no fucking hubbub. They don't got time for that shit. They only live like 8 years, so they only live 8 years and Gartok 7.5, so he ain't got time. I'm just kidding. 6 months of in-game time, and I'm like, all right, Lucy, where's that new character? Oh, this is his brother, Schmartok.
No, his brother died. Don't
Yeah.
Has to make daily con saves to avoid dying of old age.
Yeah.
Did he
Get a heart disease and die.
Schmartok. Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, he has high intelligence. He was the smart one of the family.
Right. Alright. Why don't we do this? I believe Candace is getting the kids situated right now to go down for naps, so why don't we take our break really quick? If you guys are cool with that, we'll pick back up here in like 10 minutes or so, and then we'll just go into the scene of Zlagmotionbeak and figure out where, who, what, when, where, why. So we'll be back in like 10. All right. Oh, hey, Among Us, you are,
Yeah, I told him he could.
420 officially ready for light. Fucking Torin. Vibing today. Hey, what's up? Among Us, how you doing, bud?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I was getting hungry.
Yeah, me too. I sat here and ate my snacks like right away.
Now, Liam, just so you know, I don't pay attention. I don't watch. Well, I know you've watched
Kevin,
us do D&D.
Slag Motion Beak was where my troop was, I thought, right? That's where they'd relocated to?
Nope, Stillwater.
Okay. Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Torin's tearing this shit up. Yeah, but Liam, as soon as we go back to the game, I'm gonna pull my new screen up, so just so you know, I won't be paying a whole lot of attention. But there are other people here, obviously. So. What have you missed? So the group, they left Kiru, and they got on an airship, and they are just landing in Slag Moshumbeek, which is the map that we have up here, and yeah, that's what we're going to pick up. Yikes. That is a...
Way too happy for the news.
Jesus Christ, sorry about that soundtrack, you guys. I was just testing one out here. Apparently Peaceful Farm Village is fucking Harvest Moon 64.
This is what it used to sound like in Winnie's home. Before it was decimated. Terribly.
Yeah, I can't do
It
that.
could probably still sound like that, just a bit more dead now.
No, Winnie's Village now sounded like that originally. Now it sounds like the fucking intro before you start playing Baldur's Gate 3. You know what I'm talking about? The
Hate it. I love it, but I hate it.
And that's just all the spirits. They're just wailing spirits.
So sad.
Hate it even more now.
Hell yeah. I love it.
So from here, there's free lunch.
I hate it, you guys. I hear that fucking music sometimes when I'm just like doing mundane things. I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to get the mail, and it's like, oh God, it's calling to me.
There's a song on that playlist that I like to listen to, the ones that did the Mrs. Doubtfire one. The beginning of the Baldur's Gate 3, it's the, oh, is the start of it. And every single time I'm like, oh, I gotta play.
Terrifying.
I was playing it while I was crocheting the other day.
All right. Okay. So, let me find one that actually fucking makes sense.
The Halo song,
All right, fishing village is more like it. Okay, so you guys have disembarked. You have left Grim, and you have headed into the main area that is Motionbeak. You guys have all
what terrain is this?
plains. Very uncomfortable here. You see architecture, actually, Gartok, that is a little bit on the reminiscent side of home. A lot of stonework, very, very tall stone, like monument-style buildings that are just covered from head to toe in moss and vines. In the center of the city, there is a massive structure, what looks almost like an Aztec pyramid, and at the top of it, there are 3 easily, 10 times larger than you are, crystals hovering actively with no source of why they're doing it above the center of this of this building.
It reminds me a lot of Warhammer's lizard folk.
Yes. Yes.
The
Yes.
Aztec vibe and everything.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what? That's where I got a little bit of the motivation to make this place. And Kokoromon, it's very similar.
It's the only faction I've ever finished a game in, so...
That's not an easy one to finish in either, so good on you for doing that in the first place. Get all those fucking beasts out there that rampage, and it's just... sometimes it turns into a shit show. Okay, so that's what you see while you're here. What you notice, too, is that there is a lot of different, racial makeup here. There is everything from elves to halflings to dwarves. You see tieflings. You see dragonborn. You also see other lizard folk. Like civilized lizard folk, like lizard folk who are wearing armor and robes and are carrying books. God fucking help them. Weird things. They're eating with forks and knives, and this is not home. We call Bloodmane a barbarian, but let's be real. He's 10 times more civilized than you. All right. So, what do you guys do?
I know I want to at least stop at the temple, but if anyone wants to do something else first, I can do that later.
Stop at the temple too. In the meantime, I am going to go to one of the rivers and bathe and maybe do a little fishing.
Fuck yeah, I'm all about that. Bathing is easy enough. You don't need to make a check for that. But when you bust that sweet pole out and start slinging your line into the water, why don't you go ahead and give me a survival check?
Winnie would have gone with Emig too. She's kind of clingy at the moment, so.
Okay. Actually, you know what? Speaking of which, make a survival check with advantage because you have fished these rivers before. Last time you were here, you fucking fished these rivers. And if I'm not mistaken, you caught eels out of them. Beautiful. Okay, so while these two are off, we'll kind of come back to the lot of you here. But while you two are off, easy enough. Go ahead.
I'd like to think that since he's talked with Bloodmane, and Winnie's been the only constant one since he had to chase Sybil, and Ulrich appeared out of nowhere and speaks way too fast and way too intelligent for him. So, not understanding the situation between Sybil being Winnie and Bloodmane, he'd be the third wheel, because they're the only two he knows.
So you two show up on the shore, and all of a sudden there is another presence there, and 6 feet away from Bloodmane at the base of the shore is Gartok, kind of looking down into the water with the one chameleon eye that points over at you two every once in a while, and then back over at the water. And Bloodmane, I'm assuming, just kind of strips down, starts bathing, because you guys are pretty fucking nasty. But
What
yeah,
is he bathing? What is he doing? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. He's taking handfuls of water and cupping them under his arm, and he's getting his face in the water and scrubbing the water into his face, and
Scare fish.
Yes, certainly. Probably scaring a lot of people. But I won't fish where I bathe.
As if he didn't even think of that. He'd be oh, smart.
Winnie will also kind of wipe herself down. She's gonna get clean. She knows that she stinks, and
You guys have like hag blood and fucking
Yeah.
hobgoblin everything on you. Entrails from the last 4 days.
I need to wash this trip off of me.
That's what I sound like after I take too many hits of acid.
Forever unclean.
Bartek would kind of sit at the shore, and I guess just be uncomfortable, because this is one, not home, two, there's weird lizard folk that he doesn't understand. And three, there's things he's probably never seen before.
Okay. So
his like eyes are just constantly wandering in like every direction.
okay. So after you guys get yourselves settled, you bathe, you go upstream a little bit so that you're not in the downstream filth from your bathing, and you begin to fish. Throughout the course of the fishing, you manage to bag easily 5 or 6 solid, not normal to your liking as far as like open sea fishing is concerned, but you get some pretty fucking hefty catfish that you pull from the belly of this river. We'll say probably 18 pounds worth of catfish between the 5 of them. Some pretty fucking big ones. Yeah, that will be your guys'. If there's anything you want to do or conversation you need to have specifically, you can do that during this time. If not, it's just R&R.
We can probably do that a little later. Let's figure out what Ulrich and Sybil are up to.
Sure. So the 3 of them kind of wander off to the west to where the river, the western river is. What are you two doing exactly?
Heading off to the Temple of Bahamut and making sure Sybil's coming with me.
Sure, I can just find
Nope.
stuff.
Nope.
Wait.
Come on.
He's gonna get you exercised.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
God, this is going to be a weird conversation. There's something really wrong with her. You need to unfuck her head. Okay, so you go to the temple of Bahamut. You ascend the steps. This is number 6, by the way, just for anybody who's wondering and can't see. You ascend the steps as if you were climbing the stairs to the heavens themselves. And when you reach the main platform on top, you are greeted by one of the clergymen, who is a black dragonborn, dressed in the long silver robes. He's got the holy symbol around his neck. Everything appears to be good. He's actually got like a little silver circlet with another emblem of Bahamut in the center of it. But he sees you guys ascending, and he meets you, and he kind of bows his head to you, Ulrich, and he says, "Ah. Greetings, Chosen One. Is there something that I can do to assist you on this fine morning? Afternoon,
No.
excuse me.
Just come to pay respects.
Understood." He kind of bows and opens his hand out to the temple platform, and then he goes back to, he is like in the process of changing out the incense, like the ones that have become essentially ash. He's pulling the sticks, putting them in a small bag, and then replacing them, and then lighting them.
So, Sybil, we're gonna just hang out for a minute. I know I've been noticing you doing more prayer-like behavior, so I figured maybe a small trip to the temple. Do it here. No, it doesn't have to whoever you are seeking out to. It may help to do it in a place where the gods are watching.
She smiles a little bit at that. I've never been in a temple devoted to the ones I follow. But you can feel the energy here. I see it. I mean, I don't feel it the way you do, obviously. But, yeah, thank you.
And then I'm just gonna go about putting, taking down to my knees, taking a quick little thought out to Bahamut, and then kind of keeping a half eye on Sybil, make sure she doesn't prayer wander away.
You look up and she's in the fucking ship taking off with Grim. How the fuck? Going to save the world. Okay, so you begin to go about your prayers. Sybil, what are you doing?
Sybil's going to do much the same, but she's almost desperately, like, praying for, like, just calmer travels. Like, she's all for a good show, but she's scared. She's overwhelmed, and she's just hoping to find her way to some balance. And it's kind of just that whole thing. And
so within those prayers, there's a lot of like desperation and like call out, like, please just fucking let this. Can we just please get on with it, sort of thing? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, it's a lot of the just trying to find her way back to calmer skies, kind of thing, and a lot of very careful like gratitude for having survived so far, but her desperation and fear is definitely showing through in this.
Okay. So, Sybil, make a wisdom saving throw for me, please.
Yeah, my favorite.
And so it begins.
That's double digits. That's improvement.
That is improvement. Okay, so nothing wild or violent happens, Sybil, but as you kind of take a couple good deep breaths in the incense of this place of peace, this place of power, this place of divine strength, this divine... this place of divine power, quite frankly, you send your desperate thoughts and prayers out into the greater universe. And there's not a response from the universe itself, or from a god, or an entity that is unfamiliar to you. But instead, as you plead and in desperation beg for things to be righted and for you to be able to get back on the right track, essentially, as far as, you know, the greater world is concerned, and your travels and your adventures, you do hear something. A presence kind of slips into your mind. The interesting thing is, it's your own conscience, and it whispers something to you. You hear it say, I'm waiting. I just saw Candace's face go. She's just like, oh, what the fuck? You hear your own conscience, your own inner voice. Not you prompting it, not your own brain prompting it, but it informs you. Stop what you're doing. You're embarrassing us. And I'll leave that at that. You do with that what you need to. Ulrich, go ahead and give me a religion check with advantage, please. Beautiful. So, Ulrich, you, through your own prayers, you reach out to the greater universe, to the cosmos, to Bahamut himself. Is there anything in specific that you reach out for? Is there any intention here? Now, you know that, especially because you're in a very particular place of power, you've got a direct fucking link to the big man upstairs.
So the reason why I brought Sybil was I was trying to see if Bahamut can help me figure out what's going on in the brain meat.
Okay, understood. So, you receive the following as a series of words that are not the words themselves, but they are depictions of the word, however Ulrich might interpret them. But these are the words that kind of come across you as you completely open your mind to the divine entity. Here's the problem. and then open it to a solution. The words that flood in the form of images are the following.
Anguish. Fear. Strife. Internalized. Unwell. Mental health.
And that's where the series of images with this particular request ends.
Okie dokie.
So what I'm hearing is Sybil needs a therapist.
The good Bahamut giveth, and the good Bahamut taketh away. So
I mean, you took away your first therapist, technically, so.
that's okay, so you two kind of come out of your prayers. We'll say that for the sake of brevity, this takes a few hours, which is, I believe, what we would say would take about the same amount of time for Bloodmane, Winnie, and Gartok to kind of do their thing. So, you two are just coming out of that, back over to Bloodmane, Winnie, and Gartok. Is anything particular or of note happening with the lot of you?
I want to ask Gartok a question.
Okay.
I'm going to hold up one of the fish and ask, cooked or uncooked?
Oh,
Okay. I'm just going to give him one, and then the other ones I'm going to probably try to cook, or at least
If you toss it over, he'll quite literally catch it and start like grinding it with his teeth.
Sure, yeah.
He might as well be a fucking dog catching a snack. I mean, he snaps it out of the air like a fucking crocodile being thrown a whole chicken, and just fucking goes to town on it. It's delicious.
Good boy.
I always wanted a pet.
While he's snacking.
Oh, that was a diversion! You crafty fuck! Take an inspiration point for that. That is wise as fuck. Okay, go ahead, do your thing.
I'm going to kind of
Well played.
enjoy the fish, buddy. I'm going to turn to Winnie and just kind of like ask how you're doing, check in with you. Enjoy it.
She takes there's like a huge sigh before she answers, and she says, I kind of wish I had been with them. Even if they didn't make it, and for some reason, I don't know. I feel like I abandoned them.
I understand that feeling.
We're peaceful people. We don't.
When is the last time you've checked in beyond the veil?
I mean, technically on the airship, I guess.
I suppose we'll be at the Grove soon enough.
You know, when it was just my brother, that was one thing, but now it's everybody. I don't know where anybody is, or if they're okay, or, you know, did the connection not sever because now they're just stuck on this plane?
I think you'd feel that anguish from their spirits if that was the case.
I just wish I had a better way to get in touch with them. There's so many people there. Like I said, we didn't fight. We didn't.
We'll find them. If we make it out of this, we'll find them. That's my promise to you.
I think, honestly, the worst part is that I know that they could still be living happily like they were, if not for choices that I was a part of.
I understand that too. But what's done is done, and at least for us, what's fated is fated. That was going to happen, possibly whether or not we wanted it to. I wouldn't dwell on that.
Our brains work a little differently, but I'll try. I'm supposed to bring people to safety. I'm supposed to get people where they're supposed to be, and I feel like I have not been doing my job very well.
I think that's one part of your job. There are a lot of parts of your job. You have the weight of this world and other worlds on your shoulders. It's a heavy burden. But you have to bear it. You have to be strong to do it. Otherwise you won't save anybody, you won't help anybody. Nobody.
Tired of being strong.
Well, we'll all be weak when we're dead. So that's always there too.
I would say that something got lost in translation, but we're speaking your language. I don't think that landed the way you wanted it to. But I do appreciate the thought. I think I know what you're trying to say.
I'm just gonna give you a hug. And, yeah, kind of move on, with it.
She seems like she's trying to, like, shake it off after a conversation. Like, she's very obviously trying to feign her normal look. Like, less downtrodden and... Yeah, she's just kind of trying to get back to normal.
Okay.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, no shit.
Anymore, yeah.
Okay. So, for the sake of brevity, we will move time forward just a little bit here. And we will say that at this point, you guys have finished your fishing. You've caught a pretty decent amount of fish at this point. Had your fill, bathed, and Ulrich and Sybil have finished what is a lot in the ways of prayer. So collectively, what are you guys doing now? I guess nobody really said that you were going to meet back at any specific point. You guys just started walking away from each other in silence, which was weird. But...
Well, we knew that... I know that Ulrich told us he was going to go to the temple, so...
Okay.
I think we'd probably head to the temple.
Okay. So we'll say then that you guys head up towards the temple. I'm just going to drag you there. Alright, so you guys find yourselves at the Temple of Bahamut as you and Gartok and Bloodmane begin to make the ascension. You see at the top Ulrich and Sybil are beginning to descend. Is there any conversation between Ulrich and Sybil prior to that happening, or do you guys just kind of...
Yeah, I wanted to really quick talk to Sybil. We can even do
it
like...
No, please. Absolutely. Take your time.
I feel very guilty in the fact that I feel like I'm part of the reason why your mentor is gone. And while I can't replace the martial aspect of what he was doing, I feel like I can maybe help in the spiritual way. So if you ever feel you need to talk or want or need anything in that regards, please don't hesitate.
I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna cough. Give me a second.
No deep breaths for you.
Jesus Christ, that wasn't coughing. That was... You just fucking threw up air into your elbow pit.
Your soul just...
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I tried to do it fast enough. No. She takes a deep breath. Does not die because she does air better than I do. And just, I don't know what I'm doing here. Really, I'm tired of making things worse and being an embarrassment to things or a threat or any of it. And I thought that I could find a balance to things, and I don't know if that's possible, especially not after what just happened.
You're focusing on the bad. You're really like laser focusing on the bad. You need to kind of broaden your mind a little bit more.
What's been good? What's been good about any of this?
The good that we have been doing still, there are people we have saved. There are entire, throngs of people that still breathe today because we've helped.
And there are countless more that no longer exist, also because of what we did.
Didn't say it was clean good. Still good though. We have to do what we have to do. Like there is the greater good that we are working toward.
Yeah, and you go and bring Bahamut's blessings to the world. Bloodmane literally smashes evil into nothingness when he shepherds people back to where they need to go, and I lose myself in the middle of the night and go and kill things that only had lives left before them. Possibilities. A lot of good, that is.
And again, you're focusing on the bad. Stop. So the main thing you need to take away from
Just stop.
everything that there is that bad stuff have happened. I've done terrible things that I still to this day atone for every single step of the way. Do that. Stop focusing and stop letting it drag you down. Use it to push you forward to do better things in the end.
Sybil, make a wisdom saving throw. And add a guidance bonus to it, D4. Holy shit. Alright, 19. So, Sybil, something sticks out to you on a really intense level, and even if you just glazed over everything that Ulrich just said to you, he said one phrase 2 times that really made sense. For the greater good. And it does not mean that it will be clean or that it will be all good, but for the greater good. It sticks. Something in your brain grabs onto that and you're like, fuck, for the greater good. Now, you can react to that however you want, but throughout everything he just told you, that bit is almost enlightening.
She closes her eyes, forces herself to take like a deep breath. I don't see good in anything that I've been doing lately, but if I can do anything to help you help the greater good, I still want to try and do that. If the others will let me, and if Bloodmane doesn't kill me and leave my body somewhere, like I'm half expecting every night.
Hasn't happened yet. And if I have anything to do, it won't. Just follow your heart, do what you think is best, and I'll be behind you.
She forces
and just get up and turn around and start to leave.
She will follow with a quiet little... She's going to do a quick little, just thank you towards Bahamut, which is not the one that she normally sends anything towards, but it seems necessary here.
Make a perception check, Sybil. So as you two begin to kind of descend, and you turn back quickly to like the platform, which is where people were praying, and you kind of offer like one more final thank you, just like a physical note to like, hey, I appreciate it, right? As you turn, you instinctually mouth thank you, and as you begin to turn back around, you catch the eye of the black dragonborn that was up there attending to everything, and he winks at you and mouths, "You're welcome."
Yeah, she's not bringing that up to anyone. She's gonna follow Ulrich.
Okay, and as you guys are heading down the stairs, oh, hey, look, all the way at the bottom are your friends. And Bloodmane has a mesh, like, net bag with 4 catfish in it. And Winnie, it looks like she cleaned all of the dried entrails off of her fucking fur. She was looking like a fucking mass murderer, when she guys got off the ship. She looks all right now. Bloodmane's beard is still red, but it's not because of blood. Holy shit. And Gartok is still a lizard. All right, so...
I wanted to say Gartok looks satisfied, but that one's better.
So you guys get to the bottom of the stairs. I imagine like Winnie and Bloodmane like 7 steps up going, oh, hey, they're coming down. I'm not wasting my fucking strength going all the way up there just to come back down. Okay, so yeah, you guys have met back up. It's about 3 p.m., by the way.
We have some news.
I'll be right back. You can keep talking.
Okay.
Good news, bad news, and different news?
Well, the only kind of news we get anymore. So.
Oh, great. Bad. Got it.
Her fists at her side clench, and you could tell she's like steeling herself. And she's not speaking loudly, Xavier. It made it to my home, and my home has fallen.
Our home was floating.
No, the big bad that we're dealing with, basically stomped all over where I'm from. And
have you guys even told Gartok about that fucking thing yet? I don't think you have.
And, we're not sure if there were survivors. It feels like there were, but we don't know where they are.
You need me to check?
If you can.
Yeah, I'll cast sending to her dad. If she's alive, it'll make there. So we'll wait for Kevin to come.
In the meantime, Sybil's gonna kind of quietly. Ulrich, do you mind if we go to the river before we go back out and do things? I have a feeling it'll be a lot easier to focus differently if I don't look down and get memories.
At that point, he'll look at me like, "Oh right, we're filthy." Yeah. Let me do this first, and I'm gonna cast sending to see if it connects.
Okay, so Ulrich, you perform the incantation, you trace the sigils, and as the spell takes hold, you hear the static. Fire across.
Greetings, sir. I don't remember, but I am one of Winnie's friends. Just checking to make sure you made it out okay.
You feel the spell succeed. It reaches, and you hear the static back in your mind. And you hear a voice, familiar to you as Milo Farron. He says, "There is darkness everywhere. I think I'm trapped underneath our house. But we are alive. I am alive. then you hear the static.
So, good news and bad news. He is alive. But it seems they're trapped. He thinks they're trapped under the house. Second part of good news is, if necessary, I can get us close to there right now if you want to get there right now, and we can get right back using the other scroll.
Gartok is just gonna look straight at Winnie, and he's just gonna say,
Family.
and he's gonna put up like one finger like she did before. Actually, he's gonna put up 4 because he doesn't understand the number.
She's just gonna kind of look around at the rest of the group.
Let's go. They might not have long. We can't
Okay.
waste time.
How close are we talking?
Well, I've been there, so I'm somewhat familiar with it. Teleport's a little bit wonky with stuff like that, but you know, I'll get us as close as I can get. I mean, it'll be within the village, hopefully, but I don't know what's still there. That's the other
That's
problem.
the other concern.
So, give me 1 second here. Winnie, Sybil, and Ulrich, why don't you guys all give me intelligence checks?
I know I barely made that one. Okay.
Oh, these aren't fun.
You guys fucking dump stat charisma and dump stat intelligence, all of you. Thank God Ulrich bounces back with it.
I have a positive intelligence score. Like,
So,
that's be my thing.
I told you not to fucking roll that survive. You do it every time. You throw that fucking nat 20 right in the beginning of the game and you never see it again.
It is so fitting, though. The dice are telling a story with Sybil's mental state.
Yeah, no shit. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Total chaos. Okay, so Ulrich, as you guys are kind of discussing like the potential of doing this, you remember a conversation, just a very brief snippet of a conversation that happened at the first council meeting you guys were at. How this entity exists in the way that it moves is before it shows up and immediately after the cultists from the cult of the Worldbreaker swarm in, it comes and destroys, and then they follow up and pick through. You don't know what the timeline is as far as when that happens because nobody's asked and nobody's done the research. Also, behind the cult of the Worldbreaker, the undead are following as they're amassing resources themselves. So teleporting there right now without knowing what's going to be there could be horrific, if not impossible. But it might not. You guys have just never utilized resources to figure out what exactly that timeline looks like. So just do with that what you will.
I'll relay that, but yeah, it's a risk. But I will put the option. I just want to make sure the option's there, known that I can get us there in an instant.
I have an idea. Why don't we just ask if, like, one of the magic users that we know can scry
I
and
was going to say
see?
the same thing, actually. I was going to suggest that we go talk with, I think Mylar, Ezekiel, one of them might be able to.
It's entirely possible. It's gut people we care about instant try to go fix. So
No,
that's
I
just.
know. I know.
Then let's hurry to Mylar and get as much information. Let's get this. Let's go with this part first before we relay anything else. Because if we need to move, we need to move.
Xavier, question.
Yes.
The group that Winnie's brother was with, they were tracking and following the cultists, isn't that correct?
Yep, they were essentially the equivalent of like forward scouts to watch where the cult of the Worldbreakers forward scouts were going in order to kind of help predict where the fuck the path of this thing was going, because where the cult of the Worldbreaker went, the Worldbreaker followed, and then the cult of the Worldbreaker kind of took up the rear behind it.
Okay.
And then, like, the undead were coming after all of that shit had been picked through, and they're doing their thing.
Okay. Yeah, let's go. Let's go see what we can. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so you guys are going to Ezekiel's tower?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys head over to Ezekiel's Tower of Arcanum. You go as you approach. The guardsmen, who are always outside in groups of 4, notice you. They nod to you, and without hesitation, allow you to just enter. They know who you are at this point, and you've been expected. Although, yeah, they're not entirely sure about Gartok, but you guys have showed up with weirder friends, so. So you guys enter, and in the foyer, where there's the little, like, half-round desk where there's usually, like, a clerk, a novice at working, instead is sitting the man himself, Ezekiel Ashande. And he kind of puts a finger up, waves you over, but he says, "One moment." He continues writing something down on a piece of parchment. He folds it up. He puts it in a scroll tube, and as he closes it, he twists the scroll tube, and the entire tube pops out of existence. It just fucking vanishes. He looks up and he says, "What have you been doing for the last couple of hours? I was under the assumption that you were coming straight here. Did you go fishing?"
I had to seek the guidance of Bahamut, so they were killing time while I was doing that.
Okay, fair enough. Do we need to speak in private, or is here quite alright?
Who's around us in here?
He kind of looks around and he says, "Well, not many people, but how important, like, what do we need to discuss? You know what I'm saying?"
It's important.
Okay, private conversation, easy enough, that's all I asked. Let's go. And he stands up and he starts to walk up the spiral staircase, and he shouts down and he says, "Can somebody please get a novice on that desk? Sorry." And as you guys ascend the stairs, you get to the weird spot in the room as the stairs are kind of jutting out in front of you, or excuse me, on the wall, where there's clearly a door there, but it's like just very well camouflaged. Not magic, it's just kind of camouflaged. But he traces a rune on it, puts his palm on it, and the door shifts open, and you guys enter the inner sanctum of Ezekiel. Nothing has changed. You got the big lavish couches and the huge bits of drapery and the beautiful window that overlooks the plains outside of the tower. He goes behind his desk, he sits down, he kind of motions to the kind of exotic Middle Eastern style seating, very low to the ground but very lavish, and he says, "All right, so, moment." Snaps his fingers and traces a line in the air, and you guys see the door from the inside seal, creating just a wall. And he says, "Right, now we are in private. First of all, hello. Second of all, congratulations. I heard you slayed the last of the hags. That is magnificent. I am also aware that Mylar was supposed to be here, but he had to go back to the Grove as there was some issues with troop movement and facilitation, things like that. By the way, there is a massive influx right now of troops to the Grove. You may need to start getting that expansion project underway, otherwise people are going to have nowhere to go."
Okay.
Anyways,
Add it to the list.
So I have a favor to ask.
no, always show up with a favor.
I'll pay for it. I don't.
Well, it's not a favor if you pay for it.
We need.
If that's the case, then you're just here for a service.
Yeah. We need, if you can, we need you to scry on my family.
Your family, okay.
The World Breaker hit my home.
Oh, that's right. You're from that little oasis in the jungle, aren't
I
you?
am, yes.
All right. Yes, I suppose I could perform it. I mean, it doesn't take anything for me to perform the spell. It's going to take a few minutes, so if you want to make yourself at home, just bear with me.
She actually stays standing. She's clearly too anxious to, like, relax and sit down.
Sybil's gonna sit and hopefully not get gore on any of the furniture, but she's gonna take the opportunity to sit because stuff's gonna hit the fan again, obviously.
It's
Clearly.
right. You'll be fine.
Okay, 14. Okay, so about 10 minutes goes by, and Ezekiel pulls out onto his desk a very large, like I'm talking probably like the circumference of 2 basketballs put together, crystal ball. And he sets it into the center of a raised metallic platform. And it kind of sits in there like a bowl, kind of hugging it. And he begins to sprinkle this like holy water and silver dust around the outside, kind of wetting it and forming it into these small runes while he is incanting over it. As the spell kind of comes to a head and to a conclusion, he puts his hand on the ball, his right hand on the ball, and the left hand quickly scoops up all of the wet powdered silver, and as he throws it at the ball, the entire thing shifts and does a quick rotation, and inside the ball, you all see an image begin to pour out like smoke and into the ball itself. He says, "Come, you can see this for yourself." As you approach, you can see inside of the ball, where he creates the sensor is just above where your father is right now. And he can only manipulate it so much because it's really particular. It's about 10 feet that you can see. But as he creates it, the 10 feet below where he is nothing but darkness. However, as he shifts the sensor ever so slightly, which actually requires him to physically kind of twist the ball, the crystal ball, you see a shadowed face of a furbolg kind of come into view, and it blinks a couple of times, and you hear coming from the interior of the ball sounds of shouting and screaming in the distance, but it's very, very muffled, as if this entity and this sensor have like a blanket or something pulled over the top of them. As the image shifts and you see it kind of trying to get a better spot, like a little bit of a better visual sense of what is there, the ball retracts out and through what becomes very clear as something that is now seeing light is able to cast an image of a shattered floor, a shattered wooden floor. And as it rises up to its maximum point and begins to twist left and right, you can see that the walls, wherever this structure was, have been completely ripped down. And occasionally you see a pair of feet move over the top of the sensor, kind of unbeknownst to it being there. They do not stop. They take absolutely no notice to anything potentially being underneath this structure, but there are multiple of them throughout the 5 or 6 minutes that it takes to do this manipulation that you see the feet kind of run over. They are armored, they are unarmored, there are clawed feet, furred feet, you see boots of every shape and size running over the top of this thing, but there are audible, especially now that you are not hearing a muffled version of this, audible shouts and screams as far as the fucking ear can hear. He kind of, as he begins to manipulate and look up as best as he can, he's like, "I'm sorry, there's just not much more that a spell of this caliber can do. I can go back under the house if you'd like me to, but I think it's pretty evident that he's trapped, at least for the time being. If he's resourceful enough, or maybe if he can free his hands, perhaps can he shapeshift? Is he not of druidic nature?"
No, he's not.
Do you know how capable he was as a divine caster? Do we know what circle of spell he could cast? What was his highest capability?
Would I know that answer?
Make a history check, and you can do that with advantage. Okay. It's tough because you guys cast different spells, so you're not quite sure like where his lie, but you can remember, and he may be able to do more powerful things than this, but you definitely remember probably about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a child in the oasis who had gone up a palm tree about 15 feet, fell, and broke his neck. Dead instantly when he hit the ground. Your dad was like a house over, ran to the boy, and successfully performed a revivification on him before his spirit fled too far. So you know he's at least capable of casting Revivify.
The most impressive thing I ever saw him do was bring a young boy back from the dead. It doesn't mean that's the only thing he could do, but I also don't know if he put up a fight before he got trapped or what resources he used then.
Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't give you more details. Would you like me to continue to manipulate the image, or would you like me to allow it to fade?
What kind of feet? I know you said armored and stuff. Did we see undead skeleton feet?
You did not see undead or skeleton feet or zombie feet or anything that would lead you to believe that there was ghosts flying about. They were all sentient. Again, furred, maybe hobgoblin. Definitely saw some turtle knees. You saw humanoid, just standard humanoid, but they were all bound up, so it's tough to tell. But you know, you saw some tall, some short. Yes, Lucy?
I mean, you can finish first, but I was going to ask, Gartok would have been probably watching the image, and as feet ran across, he would have tried to count, I guess, the people, just on instinct.
Just the number?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, make an intelligence check for me. Counting is an intelligence-based thing, isn't it?
That's true, he's not good at numbers. That's a 4. Oh, 4. Never mind, it's a 2, I forgot, it's a -1.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, no, you lost track after 1. There's a lot of...
Yeah, he's gonna put up 10, like, hit both his hands.
Gartok.
Because he thinks 4 is 1.
It's a 4-to-1 ratio. Alright.
I don't know.
Do we know how long the cult takes to move through after the World Breaker?
Ezekiel, he kind of like looks up as if he's trying to consider, and he's like, you know, that's not my area of expertise, and this is the first time that I've witnessed this bit. The cult itself, as far as what I'm aware of, is like thousands strong. So if we were to assume, you know, half is moving at the front and half is moving in the rear, the creature is already gone now. If I were to move, you know, thousands of troops, I would assume it would take me a couple of days, but I can't confirm that. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, say that again?
How long ago was the Oasis hit?
Yesterday. It's been roughly 24 hours.
So there's some... It feels very selfish, but if we go there, there's a spell that I can cast that will create almost a temporary grove in that area. I'm allowed, you know, I tell it who's allowed in or not, and I don't know if it would be enough, though.
Well, if things are already there and you perform the spell, will it forcefully push things out?
It'll attack them if they're inside.
But attacking doesn't keep them out. Anything can run in at that point. Right?
So I tell it who can be in there, and then it's immune to the effects. So then I get to choose. I can create...
What spell are you trying to cast?
It's actually just called Druid Grove. I can create different effects. So I'm able to make it trap creatures that are in there. I'm able to create a really solid, dense fog. I'm able to create guardians that will fight.
And you can cast this spell immediately?
No, I'd have to be able to take a little bit of time to cast it. It does take a few minutes.
A few minutes is how many minutes?
10.
10. So you're going to go there and hold off the Cult of the Worldbreaker for 10 minutes so you can try to get your spell off and hope that you don't get hit, break your concentration, have to start all over. That's what I'm understanding. Just think about what I just said.
What I was, the thought that I had that I was thinking is that there's obviously a window in, because there's two groups moving behind the Worldbreaker, the second half of the cult and unfortunately the undead. There's probably a good space of time, but there will be a breath of time in between the cult and the undead. We have to get there before the undead. We don't
time it too perfectly.
That is actually a pretty fair point, though, because if I'm not mistaken, the undead are afraid of the Worldbreaker and the Cult of the Worldbreaker, which is why they're keeping a distance.
Do we know how far back they stay?
A group that big, they've got to be at least a day behind, minimum, or else they'd end up. There's a too big of a chance for them to end up on top of each other.
That's a fair point.
Because the undead don't stop; they don't have to rest. So if they keep moving, they're going to catch up eventually. So they're probably lagging back a bit to not bring focus to themselves. We can get there in between that time frame, get people out. I mean, I can pop up a teleportation circle, and unfortunately the only circle I know is the one here, so you may be getting some guess. But I can get at least 10 people out, maybe, I think. I have to read the scroll. I've never really cast a spell yet, but...
Fair enough. Well, if we can time it right, I can't see much more. I can converse with Mylar and see if there's a way we can maybe get some additional resources pooled to try to get as many of these people out as possible. I suppose it's also possible that let me reach out to Mylar, because he's your trans-dimensional specialist. He's the one who's going to be, I mean, the man is literally a master of teleportation. So let me reach out to him and see what his thoughts are. I don't believe this is going to be happening today, as he is currently indisposed. And I think we should also discuss the situation you wanted to discuss about Demon Spring, just so that we have all of our cards on the table, make a plan of action, and move forward. Because I don't have the time or energy to waste resources if things aren't going to come to fruition. If that makes any sense. Okay, very good. So, why don't we do this? Allow me to give you my information as far as the Demon Spring is concerned. I will reach out to Mylar and see what the transportation situation and the trans-dimensional transportation situation looks like, and then I will turn everything over to you. Does that sound acceptable? Very good.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you told me you were going to give me information regarding what you had found out about everything with these hags was concerned. You had mentioned that there were potentially more details, yes? I'm sorry, technically you told Mylar, but Mylar told me.
Alright, so... the Covens... all that's left is, we believe, is the Crow, who is in Demon Spring.
That I can confirm. I do have information about that, but yes, please continue.
In the last hags that we fought, they actually affected almost all of us in some way, shape, or form, I believe. I'd lost all my memories. I believe Sybil was turning into a hag. Like it was not a great time. I've really just learned that hag dens are places I don't want to go anymore. They've never been great.
Garthok was fine.
That's true, he was fine.
Yeah, they haven't met you yet, so Well, I mean, not that. Never mind.
I believe that was because we ate the food that was in that camp. I could be wrong, but that's when it all started. Was almost immediately after we ate food we found in a camp. So either it was poisoned or it was cursed, but we consumed it, and then crazy things started happening.
And they've been possibly affecting my mind anyway. But that's probably not the biggest point out of any of this. The crystals are.
The crystals, I'm sorry, that is what crystals?
So they may have had one of the crystals that the Imperium was using to bind Faction Gold the Blue.
They had one.
They did.
Yeah.
How the fuck did they get their hands on something like that?
That's really the question of the ages, but we know relatively where the other three are.
Oh shit, wonderful.
And we spoke with at least an image of Saxon Gold the Blue, who also made it very clear that the area that him and the others are kind of possessing at the moment is dragon territory.
Yes, we've had a couple of very brief conversations, not with Thaxingol, but with Arkoji and the Brass.
Yes,
over the course of the last 5 or 6 days, between myself and Myla, because we may or may not have gotten ourselves into a little tiny bit of a pickle while doing some scouting up in Empyrean territory. There are a lot of fucking dragons up there, just so we're all clear. I'm talking squadrons worth of Draconians. Lots of them.
Yeah, they kind of placed their flag there and kind of taken it as their seat of power and have not so politely told us to just not go there.
Yeah.
Yes, Myla initially told Arkojian, I believe the quote was, "Shove your thumb up your draconian asshole and spit into the wind." So that happened, and then somehow, from an unknown distance away, Myla was put on a planar binding, meaning he couldn't teleport for like 48 hours, so I had to go find him. That was terrible, by the way. So we apologized. We made good. I promise you there are no hard feelings. Well, there's a little... Look, Myla's a little sour. Not gonna lie, he's a little upset. But the alternative could have been the total annihilation of at least everything that we love. So, that happened. Wonderful. So, crystals. We have now. What is the importance of these crystals? I mean, we have had a conversation with Arkoji and the Brass, where it was suggested if we could get our hands on some sort of binding attunement spell, which is something that we would have to craft because we just don't have it in our possession, that they may be able to help us, meaning the resistance, against the Worldbreaker. So, I'm guessing that's where you come in.
Very similar conversation, but they believe they're also working on that binding, essentially, but using these crystals to, and then the power for the crystal being using the Worldbreaker's own energy to fuel it, and binding the Worldbreaker and keeping him.
That's smart.
But we need to get the other crystals, and we have like I said, a relative idea of where they are.
Okay, so here's the next question. Where is that relative location?
I believe the crone has one.
Well, that's easy, because I know where she's at.
There is some form of infernal or demonic entity that has the other.
Well, that's terrible.
And some form of creature from his worm days has the other. From when he was a young child.
I believe Octavius was the name.
Octavius. Well, I can
Octavius
roll fucking...
was a gnomish dragon
roll a
tamer.
die.
Sybil's gonna be over in her chair doing some focused breathing as she tries not to think about the implications of what we have to go and fight. She's gonna just breathing exercises over there.
I'm definitely gonna have to learn calm emotions.
Great spell.
Or
She's
by
just muttering greater good.
So he stops for a moment and he glances at you when you say Octavius and he says, "Are you talking about Octavius Delvande?"
Yes, Octavius Leonard Delvande.
Old. The old man. Get the fuck out of here. There's no way. There's no way he's still alive. He'd have to be almost 500 years old. His people don't even live that long. It's literally an impossibility. Then you see his face go white. Oh,
Unless
fuck.
he's not technically alive.
Is he with the undead forces? Do we know?
I don't know.
He was never banished officially to the Isles of Lost Souls. The Empyrean never sent him there because he was never, at least when I knew him, an undead entity. But I know the pickle he got himself into because he was dabbling in necromancy. Shit. Okay, so do we have any idea where he is?
Well, maybe he's trailing behind the fucking world breaker and about to be in the Galorian Oasis. Who knows who's leading the undead?
I don't mean to be rude or offensive. I really, really don't. Is that something your scrying stuff can help with locating? I don't know exactly how all of that works. I'm very obviously not a magic user.
I can perform the scrying ritual that you just saw, but it only targets creatures, and the less familiar I am with the creature, the harder it is for me to reach them. If said creature does not want to be scryed on, there is a possibility they can resist it. If they resist it, it makes it near impossible for me to reach them. However, the entity that I scry upon would have to be... I would have to at least have some sort of familiarity in some way, shape, or form. So the crone, if she has one of these orbs or crystals or whatever you called them, I know where she's at. I actually have some things to show you as far as that's concerned. So that one should be easy. You're already in possession of one of these crystals, so that's 2. The demon, devil, whatever infernal creature you told me about, that's a 1 in a million, and the odds of it being on this plane of existence are very slim, so I probably can't help you there. Now, Octavius. I can try to scry on Octavius because I do know Octavius. We met briefly twice, actually, in my youth, which is why I'm surprised, because as a gnome, he should be dead many, many years ago. But the odds of me succeeding are probably pretty slim. But I can try, definitely.
Is it just a creature? Can you scry on an object?
I cannot scry on an object.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
But give me a moment. I have a potential alternative theory here.
Well, when we hear your theory, I might have another bad idea that might not actually be possible.
Disregard, I cannot do that thing. I can scry on a creature, absolutely. I can place a sensor in sometimes specific locations, but it would must be a place I've seen before, and then I would be able to see anything around said sensor. I was actually thinking initially I could perform a divination ritual, but that has nothing to do with actually divining images. That is essentially reaching out to the gods for answers. Specifically through magic. Yes, okay, sorry, Sybil.
Again, I don't know if this is even possible with magic, but these crystals are all, like, fragments of the thing that work initially. Is it possible to, like, use one to, like, get a sense of where the others are? Like, feel a pull in one direction or another towards where the other ones are? Is that a thing that magic can do?
I've never seen one of these crystals in my entire life, so I could literally not help you in any way, shape, or form, because I know nothing about it. You would all know that better than me.
That is actually a really good theory, and we can test that out when we know the direction of it, when we're going after the crone, because we'll know where we're going and we'll know if we're feeling that with the crystal. Don't
we have the crystal? Yeah, we could show him too. We should show him.
Yeah, I'll bring it out.
Didn't we give that to Black and Gold?
No, I don't think so.
I think he asked for it, and then I can't remember what happened after.
I mean, he was just an image, so it would have been hard to give it to a body of water.
Yeah, he said eventually he would definitely need to have it if he was going to be the one to do it. But yeah, you guys are in possession of it for right now.
Yeah, I still have it in my notes here for having it. So
okay.
Yeah, but I'll bring it out.
Okay, so you pull the crystal out, and his eyes kind of go wide, and he goes, "Wow, holy shit, that thing has got some." Wow, and you kind of like see him reel, and he grabs up at his temples, and he squeezes, and he says, "There is a lot of energy in that thing, and my room does not like it. There's lots of magical things happening here. Okay.
Put it away.
No, it's all right." Kind of puts his hand on it. He actually just takes it from you, and he kind of like does some digging. Said, okay, yes, no, I can see, this is definitely a binding crystal, that's interesting. And it does, he kind of like turns it onto its like belly side, and he points and he says, if you look really closely, you can see these series of 4 arcane runes that are traced into the base of it. This is interesting. These are actually keys, arcane keys that have been etched into the base of it that link it, they lock the other keys together. So this sigil right here, and he points to the first one, is this orb, or this crystal. The 3 below it are, I would assume, the specific identifiers for the other 3 crystals. When you are within a certain distance of another one of these, and he kind of twists it ever so slightly, and he holds it up to an ever-burning torch that's on the wall, and you are under a magical light, and all of a sudden, as it comes within the green hue of the torch, you see the second arcane rune down glow vibrantly in blue, and he says, "You know you're near. See how the others are still dull." This is a very good point. Very, very well thought out. And this is probably to make sure that all of these crystals are always within a certain distance of each other. So I would assume that number 2 here is probably the one that we're closest to, assuming that there is no demon anywhere here that's carrying one. Kind of looks at Gartok. I don't know you. Who
Hi.
the
We
fuck?
met him in the jungle, and he kind of saved our lives a little bit.
He was a big part of why we were able to defeat the last group of hags.
God, talk.
Ezekiel Ashande.
Nice to meet.
Also, Azaki's not going to be back.
You said what? What was that?
I said also Azaki is not going to be back. Like, she took a deep breath and kind of like rushed out the words.
Oh yeah, there's that.
He blinks a couple times and he goes, "To be honest with you, for a moment, I just assumed that," and he nods towards Gartok, "he was Azaki. I thought maybe he died and, had to do the druid thing."
No, not this time.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well,
He didn't.
he didn't suffer, did he?
He didn't die.
Well, where the fuck is he?
She just like points at Ulrich.
So, I mean, you at least know what I am. Apparently, Azaki was one of my first reincarnations and was sent as a guide. And Bahamut was like, and you don't need it anymore, and kind of just went.
And that is why I am not a priest. I like knowing things before they happen. I like the math and the science that goes into arcane magic. You divine people are fucking strange. Okay, so, I mean, was Azaki, was he just a ghost? I met the man like 6 times. Was he like a spirit or something? Or was he physical? Did you eat him? Did you have to consume him?
No.
Did he eat him? And he points at Gartag.
No.
I didn't even consider when you said it was more of an absorption, right?
It was not even it was kind of like he just disappeared. I didn't eat him. We didn't like fusion dance or do anything weird.
Okay. Alright, well. It is a weird day and age to be alive anyways, so I believe everything you're telling me. Right. Yeah, Alzaki, that's it. God, I'm so grossed out by that even. Okay, so he says, alright, so, Azaki is gone, and is now in you.
Well, Azaki is still with us. He will just no longer be a distinct, like, individual. Like,
He's not in me, he was me. That's a better way of putting it.
Very well. The crystals.
not gone, though. And she says that kind of forcefully.
Okay. The crystals. So, I think you are onto something as far as these entities being able to detect each other. You'll just need to keep an eye on which of the 4 sigils is alight once you have 2 of them, and understand which 2 sigils are inert until you reach a point where they become not inert. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, the other one, the demon entity that has it, I believe it was the Pyramid of Aman Kotepik, where they're located. Does that ring a bell to you?
You're talking about the massive pyramid that was just smashed to pieces by
No.
the Worldbreaker?
Right, but more, were you aware of demonic? I mean, I know there's the demon spring here, but I was kind of surprised to hear.
I have no idea about demons being at the pyramid, no. Of all places, absolutely
Right,
not.
That was my surprise as well. Yeah.
I mean, it is literally the center point of celestial energy on this plane of existence. Or at least it was.
Yeah, it's very... If nothing else, at least we know where we need to... We have the ideas of where we need to go. As for the Golorian Oasis, if we can time it right, excellent. If not, I need to hope that my brother realizes what happened and makes his way over there.
Well, as far as timing is concerned, I'm going to need your assistance as much as you'll need mine, because I have no way to figure out... I am not a tactician. I am not a military man. I am a doer, and I am a master of arcane magic, but besides that, I don't really know anything about... You have a whole council of people you might be able to speak to or figure things out through as far as that's concerned. Let me give you the extra information here if you would like. This is what I know of Demon Spring. I have watched these resources amass. There is something happening down there. Now, typically, there is, and always has been, a contingent of, like, orcish, some giantish creatures that have been influenced by demonic energy, as it is a very easy place for the infernal planes to access for whatever reason. However, it might be easier if I just show you. Give me a moment. And he unfurls a map, and on the map you see the south eastern portion of the continent. And as you scroll, or as I scroll, You don't scroll anywhere. He kind of points to where Demon Spring is on the map, and he says, just down here. So if you were to leave us and go to the southeast, almost directly, we have always known that an encampment existed there. And entities never really bothered us, but we've been through this before, so I won't reiterate. However, over the last couple of weeks, we've noticed that there has been an increased amount of giants, ogres, things of the sort, coming down and out of the volcanic portions of the mountains. Now, these entities are not necessarily demonic in bloodline, but demonic in nature, just based on the influence the Infernal Planes has over the area as a whole. We did a couple of flyovers, excuse me, in the last few days because the organization has kind of come to a head and has drawn some of our scouts' attention, and we have found the following. He kind of holds his hand over the table, and you guys see the map actually kind of like zoom in over Demon Spring, and almost as if you were coming down on top of it in an eagle-eye view, you start to see, almost like a Google image view, kind of come into frame over the map, and you see the following. So, this is the Demon Spring. This is the encampment that we are familiar with. However, and he starts to point to the entities that are around the center of the encampment, which this is what we are referring to as the center. All these entities here are not single units. They are battalions of elite ogre infantry and giant infantry from the mountains surrounding this area. This crone, who we believe is not even on this plane of existence, but she has made her home here in the center of the camp, surrounded by elite guards. On the exterior, however, she has 5 units of elite ogre infantry that are protecting this place tooth and fucking nail. They are relentless. From what we have seen, they are not sleeping, at least not much. They are not even consuming much in the way of food and drink. They are simply standing by as if awaiting. Now, obviously, this crone has had very deep ties and connections to the lot of you, and whatever is happening in the center of this camp, I fear, is in direct connection to whatever your tie to her or it is. Now, obviously, the Glorian Jungle is of prime concern because there are people there that you love and want to see out. However, I would encourage you to truly take in what I've just shown you. Now, a battalion of these ogres. We did a couple of counts on this, by the way. Bear with me for one moment. So right now we are counting, yeah, so there are 5 battalions, each are roughly 400 ogres. So we're looking at just about 2,000 elite ogre infantry on this field right now. I will not be able to teleport you directly to the center of this camp. And I have a sneaking suspicion these ogres will defend this camp to the death, because, as we know, hags have a very, very intense way of controlling lesser creatures. And unfortunately, ogres are right up that fucking alley. So, and I hate to say this, truly, but you may want to consider deploying some of your own troops to the south, even if it's just temporarily, and thankfully they are close enough to have it not be that much of an excursion. but you may want to consider deploying some of your own forces down to the south to at least grab the attention of these battalions of ogres so that you can sneak through and get to the center of this camp, deal with the elite forces in the center, and then get to wherever this crone is and put an end to it. That's my suggestion. I am not the inner circle. That is your job. But this is my suggestion as the person who currently holds the information about what is within this encampment. Do with that what you will. I also have a list here, and he reaches into, there's like a small, almost saddlebag at his side, strapped to his hip. He pops it open, and you see there's like 5 or 6 slots, really paper-thin slots, like a wallet. He reaches into the third one and pulls an envelope out, and he sets it on the table. And you guys see stamped on it, the sigil is just a tree branch that is kind of gnarled into a fist that does this. And you recognize that as the sigil of Falcona, her dryad symbol. He says, "This came from the Grove about 2 days ago, and this is an updated list of your current troop resources, I suppose. I don't know what to call it."
Winnie would take it and open it.
Okay, so inside, I'm going to start sharing some things with you guys, so just bear with me for one moment. It's going to come across in your journals. Lucy, you've never seen this before, but I actually have a custom, it's a hybrid. It's mostly my style of doing things with somebody else's system that I have tweaked for military and strategic combat. So, that is what you are about to see unit cards pop up in your inventory. So bear with me, starting at the top. And the reason why I'm showing you guys all of these right now is obviously because you will now have access to these, and you guys know, for those of you who have done war combat before, which I believe we've done two big, like, war combats. Actually, no, they're actually relatively small. But anyways, you will need these unit cards for that at some point, if it is ever followed through with. So, bear with me one moment. I just have a few more.
And this thing that Sybil's not saying out loud, this is a cat comment, is hopefully we don't, kill all of our mages again right away this time.
Oh yeah, you did do that, didn't you? And Candace, what you are reading in here, by the way, is an updated roster for units that have arrived at the Grove. These are the units that you have at the Grove right now. Bear with me one sec, I got a few more.
I feel like as the map is out and being displayed, and when he's like reading off the troops and everything, I feel like there's an expression change on like Sybil's face as she kind of settles back into like that kind of guard tactician mode a little bit. She lets some of the fear go and starts like running numbers, and it's pretty like it's a visible thing because she was deep breath, greater good, and then is switching it a little bit into the like, okay, how do we strategize?
I'm gonna need a bigger screen.
I know, I'm setting all of them up on my screen too.
So just so you're aware, again, these are all saved in your guys' journal or whatever, I believe in the journal tab, which is the little tab that looks like a newspaper, if you push the button add, you can add a new folder, title it whatever you want to, and then you can click and drag all of those things in. So if you want to be like, yo, these are just the military units, you can do that. Then you can right click on that folder and organize them alphabetically in whatever direction you want to go. And just so everyone's clear, and this is for people who are watching the stream too, because actually this has never been discussed on stream, when we do this, if and when we go into this style of combat, everybody controls certain things. So you won't have 20 units out and displayed all at one time. I mean, you can, but typically you won't. Usually it's people will have that. Oh, you guys are... Oh, so it already put you guys... It already put it in a folder for you guys? That's cool, because you know what? That's the folder that I currently have it in. So that makes me really happy. I can do it for you. Disregard what I just said then. But I dig that. Thank you for letting me know, because that actually really helps me figure that shit out. Okay, I got just a couple more. So we've got the Mandalari, Stillwater, and Zlag Motionbeak are the last two, because you guys already had these units. But these are what you are getting. And Stillwater... Okay, that's all of them. So obviously it's not every troop that you guys have ever, you know, seen or needed or been told that was coming, but there's a shitload of them that are flooding in. And as you open this canvas, you realize now, you know, you guys have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You have 14 individual units. Now, they're not all the same size physically, but you have a lot of individual units that are quickly becoming the bulk of this army. There's also a note all the way at the bottom as you list through who, what, when, where, why. Under Stillwater. Stillwater has a very particular note that says Stillwater Elite Infantry will not deploy to Grove territory until absolutely necessary. Full stop. Which tells you that Stillwater at least still has something up their sleeve.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to give you guys this map as well, or excuse me, this as well, because this is just part of your shit. You guys can have the inner and the outer walls. Alright, so you have your inner and your outer garrison walls. Okay, so you are handed that information. Now, if you guys need an updated bit of information as far as like what the size of these respective units are, I can give you that as well. You just have to let me know what you need to know. But just typically, you know, because on the card, there's a die size, right? So that die size indicates it's a D4 through a D20 is the sizes of the dies you can have. The higher up you are in that die size, the more units there are physically. When a unit takes damage in combat, they are reduced from the die that they're at to the next lowest. So in the case of Stillwater Archers, their die size, or the size of the unit, is a D6. If they take damage in combat, they are reduced to a D4. If they take damage again, they're out. Doesn't mean they're all dead, but they have all either fled or been killed.
Okay. At this point, Winnie does take a seat. Okay, so what would be the most useful to help? What would be the most useful and the most likely to survive helping us?
Who are you asking?
She's just kind of asking the group.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Ezekiel, and I was like, he's going to be like, what the fuck? I just told you I'm not a tactician.
No, she's asking. She's mostly looking over at... Was Ulrich, were you there for the last... I can't remember if you were with us yet or not when we had that last big combat. I think it was before.
I think I was cursed still when that whole thing started. Because that was when I had to miss one, and then it was after that.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I can't remember, to be totally honest with you. I know there was a lot of us there.
Yeah, I'm just.
Because it was wild. It was intense.
So she'd be looking at Sybil and Emig, I think, since we'd been through commanding before.
Sybil's gonna speak up. Well, they're ogres and giants. They're gonna hit hard and they're gonna be fairly brutal. If you look at that area, there's not a ton of open space. We don't want anyone throwing ranged attacks to get cornered and just taken apart. Infantry, the war riders would probably be helpful. Maybe a contingent of archers. The hags we suspect her to be an Annis hag, so she's going to hit hard herself, but magic should be slightly less of a terror. I mean, she's going to try and rip us apart directly.
Well, that's what we're going for, right? We want to go in and attack her, but we need help on the outside with the 20,000, right?
I'm thinking some of the archers, some of the infantry, maybe the riders. Let the mages continue to recover and not do any of the larger contingents of infantry. Smaller groups that can hit the squadrons hard and fast.
I should look to Emig. What are your thoughts?
I'm not currently familiar enough with these troops, and my background in fighting was mostly on ships, more skirmishes than actual battles. I'll have to think about what we used to do when I was a child in the mountains, but it was still more skirmishing than actual battles, except with the Empyrean, of course.
There was lots of rock throwing. So, just to be clear, just so you guys know as well, you have in front of you the stats, the sizes of these entities. There are more details we can go into about finite amounts of troops and who, what, when, where, why. But just so we're also clear, I have always been of the sound mind that if you decide to move forward with something official and you want to, quote-unquote, field an army or field troops of any way, shape, or form against an entity, you can do so in two ways. One, it can be the traditional way, which is where we take our unit cards and we go through it. It is a full, you guys know how it goes. It's a full combat on screen. It happens through the rules, which there's like a five item order that we have to go through for each round based on the rolls and how things happen and people fleeing, yada, yada, yada. Or there's the simplified version. The simplified version is what I believe as like a 3-to-1 power ratio, meaning that if you want to, you can simply say we'd rather not sit and go through all of the fluff and all of the combat stuff in person. Instead, we're going to try to throw the odds against the enemy by going 3-to-1 in power. So what that means is I can tell you exactly what is on their field, right? You just got told there's 5 battalions of ogres. The battalion size, you can see it in front of you here, is the D8. So there are 5 units with D8 as their subtype, okay? That's a lot of fucking troops. What you guys can choose to do is tell me, we're going to use all of these troops and just tell me who they are, what units. If the power of your freestanding army at that point beats the enemies by a 3-to-1 ratio, it is called a win. I do some off-screen rolls to see about units that were lost, and you know that you are assured to win. But I will not tell you the exact power level of the enemies you are facing. So it is up to you guys to go, well, here's what maybe we can speculate, and then potentially just move it quicker. Up to you guys. I just want you to know that you have the option. I'm also going to pee real quick. I'll be right back, but I can hear you.
So essentially, we can throw a massive amount of troops at the problem while we sneak around and try and get in and take care of the crone.
Correct, but we have the chance of losing many of those troops as well for protection and future issues.
Yes, but if we don't solve this, we may end up with 2,000 to 3,000 ogres and giants coming at us from a different direction later.
So, he said it was power, right? Is it power? It's not size?
Correct, it's power, but a lot of your power is tied to your size. So if you open the, some of the, Delvandi Militia, right? The power is the cost. So the cost on the card for Delvandi Militia is 160, right? Whereas if you were to open, I don't know, like the Gux War Riders, the War Dog Riders, they're 230, right? And they're only a D6. So a lot of that is tied. Now, there are other things that are tied to how that operates, right? So if I open some of these, now you guys can't, well, you can kind of see it. It'll say like, let me try to find a good one here. Regular, okay? So like it'll say the race underneath the name followed by, or the creature type, followed by either green or regular so you guys got a lot of regular shit here. Hold on. Regular. Seasoned is another one that you'll see, or elite if they happen to pop up. That ties much higher. So like that ties into it much higher. So Tempuri Ballista, they're only a D6, but because they're seasoned, they're 395 points. Which means that their power is way fucking higher just because they've survived some battles. They're really good at what they do. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. So it's much more of you guys going, okay, well, these guys, we could throw all of our militia at it, but that's like 400 power total, and you got 5 units of militia, let's say, right? Or you could have a bunch of really fucking seasoned troops and go, fuck it, just throw them all at it and see what happens. It's your guys' choice.
It's very intriguing.
I realize we're not going to be able to walk away from this without losing people, and I realize that they know this as well. But I think we need to set ourselves up for the most success possible. This crone isn't optional. She wasn't before, but now she really isn't. We've got to get that crystal.
And we need to take care of her before, I don't know, if she convinces more hags to join her, then we have more trouble to deal with.
Right. So it's a sooner the better situation. And
we don't know how their troops are going to move. If we attack one, will they all come running to the aid? What's going to happen here? They're being controlled, I think, right? So
they're being compelled, more like. It's not really. I don't think it's like pure control, but they want they want to protect. Like that's how they've kind of operated in the past. I don't know if it's direct control or more just they've instilled this feeling that they need to do this. So given the fact that we march up with, you know, a whole bunch of troops, the theory should be that, you know, they will rally on themselves.
So I guess it also begs the question of how long will it take for us to get our troops there?
So, looking at an overland map, you would estimate, now mind you, troop movement is not an easy thing. There's a lot of shit that's involved in that. The good thing about it is that the troops that have arrived at the Grove did so on their own accord, which means that they're probably capable of getting to where they need to be, although now they're going to be under the command of somebody else. It's still pretty similar, and especially if they're self-sufficient, it's going to make it easy. Thankfully for you guys, if it was just your group walking from the Grove down to Demon Spring, it would literally only take like 2 days. Okay, so you figure, you know, troops that are moving very slowly, it's still only maybe a 3.5 to 4 day trip. Not that bad. You know, there's no boat travel. There's no, I mean, it's all overland. You go straight south from where the exterior of the grove is. A couple days travel, you bring a few rations. You don't even need to bring, you know, wagons and wagons and wagons of food and rations. If they're just going down, you know, real quick to kick ass, take names, and go home, that's a little bit of a different story.
Let's do that plan. Let's have them kick ass and go home.
Yeah, I'm kind of the mind that if we commit most of our troops, if not all, maybe we can leave one ranged unit back to defend the grove. Maybe the slingers. And we just see what happens.
The grove won't be defenseless either. It can defend itself. Falcona's there. I'd like to heighten our chances of having people survive this. For sure.
I agree. But what if this is maybe some sort of like distraction too? We have to be mindful of that.
Oh, to pull the forces away from the grove, I mean?
Correct.
It's unfortunately a damned if we do, damned if we don't kind of, you know, like if we pull troops, something could happen back at the grove, but we maximize our chances at the Demon Spring, and if we don't, then, you know, vice versa.
Ezekiel kind of pipes in at this point and he says, it's right to be a little bit nervous, but I think the more important thing is that we need to remember that there are no other forces working against us that we are aware of on this island. Orcus' Chosen has gone quiet since you went to battle against them. They're still licking their wounds. Demon Spring has always been a hotbed of nonsense and demonic energy and activity, and Mandalari and Stillwater are allies. So, unfortunately, the Jungle Oasis did fall a couple of days ago, which means that the World Break is probably on the move. We know Kokoromban fell. We don't know where it's going next, but it may be coming east. Now, if that happens, again, we don't really know how long it's going to take, but we know that they're going, I mean, it's going to take at least a little while.
We don't have time to sit on this decision. I also don't know what kind of time we have to potentially go through with our other plan either.
Ezekiel says, I'm going to step into my teleportation chamber very momentarily. I'm going to have a very quick conversation with Myla and see what I can figure out as far as your transportation needs are concerned. So bear with me. I'll be back in just a few moments. He turns and he walks and he pulls the curtain to kind of close himself off, and you guys hear an incantation, and then there's this loud and then it falls silent.
Are those fire streams, are those crossable, or are those like actually active, like fire
Magma
streams?
rivers.
Magma rivers, yeah, thank you, that's a good one.
So there is magma flowing down out of the mountains and into those pits. You have never been there, so you don't know exactly how wide they are. This could have been grossly exaggerated as far as the map is concerned. But yeah, there is active volcanic activity in those mountains, and those are streams of lava coming from the mountains and into these large crevices.
Divide and conquer, right?
Yeah, so I don't know that we'll be able to distract those that are expected to be in the south, because I don't know how we'd get to them.
Right.
If we can lead the force into it and kind of sneak our way in, I think is our best bet. But then we still have those 2 battalions in the south to worry about.
So, just to be clear, this is more of like an overview map. That's not the way that combats work. It's not the way that I run combats. If I say that this is a fielded army, you encounter all of them at the same time.
Okay.
So them being here is just showing them spread out. But if their scouts receive word that an army is approaching, they assemble to face said army.
Okay. Perfect.
So yeah, I'll just go ahead and cut out all that jazz.
It's just a matter of us getting past and getting in there then.
Well, let's commit them all then. I don't think they're going to be going anywhere. What are our thoughts about the Oasis at the moment?
The Oasis, unfortunately, is waiting. We need the info. We need to know. We need to figure out if anyone knows the timing between the two, between the cult and the undead. If we can figure that out, and we know a time we can run in, get as many people out as we can commit some mages to that. Running teleportation circles, getting people out, evacuees essentially, and then moving them to the grove for safety. If that happens to align in if we just watch the tail end of the cult moving through, and we've got a day or so, maybe tomorrow we can hop in there and take care of that. But that's the information we need. We need to know what is our time frame. Because jumping, as much as I would have been ready and would have done it either way, after thinking about it and realizing that the cult moves after them, we could have just jumped to the wrong time.
I don't know if my father's able to use that same spell that you have to send messages or not. And I don't know how many times you can use it, but I'm wondering if he could tell us when he hears things quiet down. Kind of have somebody on the inside.
It depends on if he's got access to move his hands and can speak clearly enough to utter the incantation. There's a lot.
My only other thought was I could reach out to Falcone. Oh. I was going to see about getting my grandfather involved, but I know that if he comes back over, that might be the last time.
Well, perhaps he does. Maybe we should wait for word, rest up while we can. It's going to be very messy very quickly, I think, on multiple fronts.
At what point do we have our forces start moving? If it's going to take 3.5 days, do we want to stall that, or do we have them start moving now? And
good point.
And to be clear, they for all intents and purposes will operate independently. I'm not going to make you guys micromanage a fucking army. I mean, unless you want to micromanage an army, but that could get real boring real fast.
We maybe should actually dispatch them. I think that's a very good point, since it will take a little while for them to get down there. And we can let's look at the map real quick.
Do you want the big map?
Yeah, that'd be great.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, sir. All right. Yeah, we can have them maybe assemble inside Motionbeak.
Yeah. Be ready to march.
Be ready to march, yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Let's make sure that Ezekiel's okay with that before we give that order. And
yes,
as far as the Oasis goes, we'll just kind of play that by ear.
Sybil has been scribbling furiously, like, plans and numbers and looking at the troop counts. Like, she probably took that letter and was using it to run numbers. And she just looks up, has not been listening at all. I don't think we're going to be able to hold back many, if any, if we're going to try and overwhelm them with sheer numbers. If we're assuming they're anything like our troops from Benalk in their ferocity, I'm assuming they'll be less trained, but even then, if we're looking at 5 full battalions of them, we have 1 battalion of orcs, and they are already a force to be reckoned with. I don't think we'll be able to overwhelm them with sheer numbers if we skimp on who we send. Reed, I don't know if we can easily do a 3-to-1 power outmatch if we are holding many back, if they are orcs and giants, because their power is way higher than the other groups, looking at the numbers.
I think the plan is to send all of them.
Yeah, I think it's a full send. Don't stop. Just send it. Because this is like I said, this is not an option. It wasn't not an option before, but now it is. They're on the back heel. They're on their heels, and things could get worse if they start to get desperate.
We do need to consider how heavy the losses were with the last time and who is still recovering from that. The mages from Select Motionbeak are still barely a fraction of what they were before. Their infantry is also much the same with Cymbaldi. I don't know if the Cymbaldi ones are new from the troops from before, but if those mages take a hit like they did in the last time they were really mobilized, I don't know if we'll be able to make use of them in the future. Speaking from a purely tactical perspective, and she kind of looks a little embarrassed. I sat in on a lot of the meetings we used to do before.
I think we're in agreement on how to move forward. So let's wait for news. Dispatch the entire body of troops to Select Motionbeak, and see what happens.
Ulrich, did my father mention if my mother was alive?
He said we're trapped, so I can do 3 more sendings. I can do a lot more if I start sacrificing other spells for today. If you want me to keep constant check.
I'm just thinking it through.
And even if it's only him, that's still something to take. I mean, it's not really a choice in my brain. While these troops are moving, while the troops are in motion and the window we can get in there falls into place, we're going to do it. Whether it's to save 1 or save 100, 1 life is still better than none.
We just need to make sure that we're not sacrificing other lives to do a rescue mission.
I agree. Which is why we haven't jumped the ship and charged in face first like we normally do.
If it comes down to it, it can be a retrieval instead.
So at this point, you guys hear the curtain kind of blows outwards as you hear a... The curtain pulls back and Ezekiel is there, and you see he's kind of wiping like soot off of his face. He goes, "All right, well, it's intense. Yes, I've spoken to Myla, and he agrees that per your original agreement, Any entity that you need teleported, him and his contingent of sorcerers are capable of doing it for 50 gold per person per destination.
So if
He
we
says
time
that
it right-
he says he's standing by with a number of sorcerers. I think he said something around 15, and he can make multiple trips if need be. You just need to let him know when and how you want that to happen.
Okay. Are we able to continue to scry on? Okay.
We're essentially still trying to figure out the window. Where is our window? When is our window of opportunity to get in there after the cult leaves, before the undead move through?
Yes, that's a great question. Again, I'm not the tactician here, so I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you have an entire council worth of people. Maybe reach out to somebody.
That's what I was just thinking. If there's somebody we have that we could have just constantly checking in on the area.
Well, about that in the council, with us losing so much time with the last tags, second to last tags, I don't know. Are we due for another meeting soon?
I think we're 2 weeks out.
We can't wait.
There is a check-in on Friday, which is in just a couple of days, but that's just messages being sent to the Grove.
Who do we know that may have witnessed the aftermath through the cult of the Worldbreaker and the undead?
I'd say probably, as he starts to look at the whole map, it's a distinct possibility that Tegan from Zlaneshi, I know Myla was technically in control of that situation, but he was way the fuck out of there before it fell, so he definitely didn't see it. So maybe Tegan, or possibly up at the pyramid, if Amelia Lightborn made it through, then she very well may have seen it. Suppose it's possible anybody from the western island, but they're I mean, those are some of the tribesmen. If you're looking for somebody more civilized, probably Amelia Lightborn from the Pyramid of Namare Kotepik, or Zlaneshi. You could probably reach out to Tegan. That would be my guess. Or the Oasis. What happened to Nicoletta Gave? Is she still alive?
As far as we know.
I figured. Okay.
I'm just trying to think, because I know there's the group that my brother is running with, and they might have that information as well, but if nobody's met my brother except me, and I don't know how to cast that spell.
Do you have a sending scroll? You can try with that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're asking me.
I can try and make one. I've never made one before, but I can try.
Yeah, making a scroll may take 5 or 6 days, so I don't think you have that time. But I believe I have a sending scroll. Give me one moment. Are you legally allowed to purchase items from me?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
We do actually have one in the bag of holding, though. We have a scroll of sending.
Oh, well then there you go.
Try that. If it doesn't work, I mean, it's at least worth a shot, and you're the only person that can message them.
You have any...
Like, give a name or something? Again, Sybil with her lack of magical understanding.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have to know them. You have to have met them at least.
Any tips on how to make sure this is successful, by chance, Ulrich? Other than don't fuck it up.
I was waiting for it.
It was the first instinct. That was the first thing that comes to my lips, but I wasn't gonna, it's not the time, not the place. Know your audience.
Okay, so don't fuck it up. Alright, so Winnie is going to try to use the Scroll of Sending to contact her brother Yinny.
I will give you as much guidance as I can. With guidance.
Okay. So, Candace, I need you to make a... Let's see, Wisdom is your spellcasting modifier, so make a Wisdom check for me. And do so with a d4. Your DC is a 13, by the way, so not a good start.
Oh!
Wow. Bahamut be fucking praised, my friends. Bahamut be praised.
I feel like I'm playing BG3.
The good lizard in the sky giveth, and the good lizard in the sky taketh away. And, yeah, so as you begin to read through the scroll, you are fumbling over fucking words left and right. And you, at a couple points, you see, Ezekiel, he kind of like grabs at his clothes and just nervously watches as the edges of the scroll start to smoke and crackle, and he's just like, he's wigging out a little bit. Finally, you get to like the tail end of the scroll, you take a deep breath, and there is literally a soft hand on your shoulder, and you hear the words being read to you in your mind by a disembodied voice, and you just repeat what it says, and you finish just barely, manage to finish the scroll, and the scroll flashes like flash paper out of existence, and you feel the sending scroll succeed. One moment on that note. Okay, you hear the static activate, and you feel the spell take hold.
Okay, let me count real quick. Wow, I wrote it out exactly without realizing. Okay. So, she says, home fell. Dad is trapped. Trying to save him. How far behind cultists are undead? Need to time it. I hope you're safe. Love you.
Okay, so you hear... And you hear, in your mind... We're at the front of the formation, so it's hard to say. We tried to outscout their scouts. Never been to the rear. But I suspect no more than 2 days. Home is lost. Home was lost when the World Breaker was unleashed.
I thought I was gonna get that, to be honest. So Winnie, she takes like a sharp breath when his answer starts, because it's the first time she's heard his voice since everything started, and was honestly expecting the spell to fail. And then she listens, and as she's listening, she's got her eyes closed, and she says, tears pouring down her cheeks. My brother says he expects no more than 2 days of lag between the cultists and the undead.
So we need to know. So we need to keep an eye, and as soon as the cultists are gone, we need to act. We don't have much time.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so for the sake of brevity, how are you guys going to go about giving the order for the military to assemble? It's moot. I just want to know, are you sending a spell? Are you fucking sending a pigeon? What's going on?
I mean, I can do sendings. I got 4 more, so I can send it to the Grove and then
Okay.
give the order to mobilize the troops. Oh, yeah, we need to make sure if he goes okay with us parking troops here, or this being the rally point.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Now they'll have to stay on the outskirts of town because we just don't have any room for them inside. But yes, you absolutely may use this as a staging point. I would suggest probably nearer the west bank of the Eastern River alongside Zlagmoshunbik is probably the best spot for them. So
Perfect. Just wanted to... We didn't want to, send people at your door without your permission.
we appreciate that. Trust me. Very well. So,
Sorry. Should we check with Stillwater to make sure that they can spare the troops right now? If they're wanting to hold them back, they might have something up their sleeve, and we don't want to take that away from them.
They're already holding stuff up their sleeve. What I read from that, right?
yeah. What was read in there is that they, you have 2 of their 3 units that are at the Grove, but they have their elite infantry on retainer in Stillwater. Essentially, they didn't want to be left defenseless, so.
Get that?
Are we trying to see if they can spare that, or are we leaving that to protect Stillwater?
If anything, I mean, I'm betting they're holding back because they are a border side with, everything that just got taken out. So if I'm betting they're keeping them back just in case the World Breaker is headed that way. Which, in all theory, let them. It's the one elite troop. I'm okay with them. Yes, that should stay the way it is.
Selfishly, I'm not going to at all be opposed to them staying as protected as they can be. I can't wait until we can go back home.
Okay, so for the sake of brevity, because we're going into an evening where you guys will be resting, you send a message to the Grove, to Falcona. Falcona sends you a response letting you know that the troops will be mobilized, and they will be leaving hopefully by tomorrow morning, and that they should arrive in Zlagmoshunbik on Saturday the 25th. And that is that. The troops are being mobilized. All of the troops are being mobilized. So we will go ahead and end today's session there, and we will pick back up with the full mobilization and then the waiting and watching for the Galorian Jungle Oasis situation to unfold, and then we'll move forward with the troop stuff and then dealing with all sorts of... There's a lot of fucking moving pieces now, man. Wasn't it just easier when we did dungeon crawls? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll end the session there, and then we don't see anybody now for, like 4 weeks. 1, 2, 3, yeah, about 4 weeks is when we'll see everybody again for session 2, and that'll be that. Any questions, comments, clarifications before we stop for today?
I have a question.
How dare you? How dare
That's it. How dare you? That's the question.
Don't look at me. I didn't do
I
nothing.
have concerns, but I always...
You're not allowed concerns.
No, we didn't do a poor monkey funeral, though. For the mom, it's a whole thing. I'm gonna get haunted by monkeys now, in addition to rabbits. It's just gonna be a thing.
I'm totally okay with that.
Maybe
on a
nicer
comment.
wildlife.
On the comment side, the fucking war thing is really cool. It gets me thinking of just Warhammer 3, which is what I've been playing also a lot of. And I've noticed that it looks a lot like Warhammer cards.
Yeah, so there is a book that I use called Strongholds and Followers that I took a lot of those gameplay mechanics out of and then made my own thing, and all those cards are custom cards. I designed all of those cards. So each one of those units with each of their abilities and sizes and all that shit, that's all from my head. But we do use Like, the way that it go, and it's interesting too, when we were still playing in person, the last time we did like an army thing, it took all 8 fucking hours. I mean, literally the whole 8-hour session was an army battle, and it was fucking awesome. It was really, really cool. So
I'm pretty sure the last time I cried is when he was also the session just before we did that.
yes, yep, yeah.
Let's keep tradition going.
All right, tears for everybody.
Tears for everybody.
What are you gonna do? Cry about it? All right, guys. We'll go ahead and we'll leave you with that for today. We got to go get the kids up here, but we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. And for those of you that we'll see on stream tonight or tomorrow, then we'll see you guys then.
I'll see you then. Thank you, guys.
I hope Xavier's auto resolve isn't as bad as.
It is not. Nope. There's a few more roles that go into it besides Warhammer auto resolves. It's not an all or nothing.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Take it easy.
See you guys. All right, friends of the stream, we're going to be rating Taizen. We're going to show Taizen some love today. And then we will be back tonight. Candace and I will be back tonight. I'm actually just about to post our note that will be live tonight for our stuff. Thank you all for being here so much. I see we've got, let's see, we've got a Logan, we've got Rose, we've got Candace, we've got Liam, Webb, Wimmy. Oh, we got all sorts of friends today. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and show Taizen some love, and then we'll be back tonight for Baldur's Gate 3. And boy, was there some crazy shit in Baldur's Gate 3 last night. So I hope you're all prepared for some wild shit tonight. All right, guys. Here we go. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.